Everything we've been hearing about this fight from the likes of AJ, Eddie Hearn, and even Frank Warren over the past few weeks has been positive. I mean, you guys may remember Frank Warren had previously said that he didn't think Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua really wanted to fight. But after being in negotiations with him, he changed his tune. And he did an interview where he said that he was wrong and he believes they do want to fight. So all the signs have been positive. And then a couple days ago, AJ put out this tweet. He said, another positive meeting with 258 management. They've informed me things are shaping up nicely. They'll be sharing the update with Eddie and you'll be hearing from me soon. So it all seemed to be roses and we were all expecting an announcement sooner rather than later. But then Tyson Fury started talking about time out the ring. He started talking about inactivity due to lockdown. After Josh Warrington got beat the other weekend, he said Josh Warrington was yet another victim of inactivity. He did an interview where he said that Billy Joe Saunders should have, 2 or 3 fights before Canelo because he's been too inactive. And in that same interview, he talked about himself being inactive and how AJ has had a fight more recently than he, and how ideally he'd like to be more active before going into the AJ fight. Basically, that's what he seemed to insinuate to me anyway. But after saying that, he said, well, it doesn't matter anyway. I can still beat these guys even when I'm inactive. But it did get you thinking a little bit. And people were speculating maybe he's just preparing his excuses in case he loses. But then he did this interview here. And in this interview, he's talking about fighting twice this year with or without Anthony Joshua. And that is not what we want to hear. Is Tyson Fury getting cold feet here? You know, he's put a tweet out. And in this tweet, he says, don't be a chicken like you did versus the Bronze Bomber. Come out and meet me for battle. Let me show you what a boss is any day of the week and twice on Sunday. Now, is it just a case of Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury hyping the fight, causing controversy around it to get the fans all stirred up? Or is it Tyson Fury actually getting cold feet because he hasn't been active, to be fair, but he can't come out and just say, I'm not going to fight. I don't feel ready. I need to have a couple tune-ups. He's not going to do that. He's going to try and flip it around on AJ and say, oh, AJ tried to get out of the fight and AJ don't really want it, and so on. That's what Tyson Fury would do if he was getting cold feet. Now, look, Tyson Fury is a warrior. He's not scared of anybody. I firmly believe that. But he's also a pragmatist. Remember back in the days when Tyson Fury refused to fight David Price, who was his mandatory for the British title? Remember that? Does that mean that he was afraid of David Price? No, he wasn't afraid of him. But maybe he just didn't feel ready at that particular time. Tyson Fury is a pragmatic individual. If you put Tyson Fury on a desert island and there's only one chicken to eat on the island and it's him and Anthony Joshua, you think Tyson Fury is going to back down? No, he'll do whatever it takes to make sure that he eats the chicken. Maybe he'd share the chicken with AJ. I don't know. The point I'm making is, even though he is a fighting man and he's not afraid of anybody, he's also very pragmatic. And he understands that sometimes it's not the right moment to take a fight. And sometimes it is. He's like Floyd Mayweather in that regard, where Mayweather wasn't just out there running roughshod over the welterweight division. He was picking and choosing his opponents carefully. He fought good opponents, but he wasn't just fighting anybody, and everybody back to back. No, he would watch carefully, and I'm sure his management had a lot to do with this as well. And they would wait and see chinks in the armor of some of his rivals, and then they'd say, okay, now's the right time to take the fight. And then he'd come out of retirement, quote unquote, and take the fight. And I've long said for many years, Tyson Fury is similar to that. I don't think this is going to be a guy that's going to take on all the contenders and just rule the division Klitschko style or Mike Tyson style. I don't think so. I think he's going to be a lot more calculated and careful than that. That's my perception anyway of what Tyson Fury is like. And so I hope that this is much ado about nothing. I hope it's people like me and others reading far too deeply into these interviews with Tyson Fury. But we want this fight so much that you can't help but be concerned that something might go wrong and the fight ends up not happening. Is that going to happen here with Tyson Fury again? Not saying Fury's scared of AJ whatsoever, but if they were to fight in June, let's say, AJ would have been out the ring for far less time than Fury. AJ fought in, when was it, December? So that would be what, 6 months for AJ? And for Fury, it's going to be 18 months, something like that. A year difference. So Fury's got a point there. You know, you want to go into a big fight like that sharp. You want to go into a big fight like that feeling 100% ready. Possibly the biggest fight, or one of the biggest fights of all time, but, well, definitely the biggest fight in British history. So I can understand why Fury would want tune-ups, but he doesn't want to lose the perception battle. Because if he said, oh, I need a tune-up, just imagine the perception of the public. They're going to say, oh, look, Fury's ducking, he's scared. That's what they're going to say. And Fury doesn't want that to happen. He always wants to maintain the upper hand in the eyes of the public. So if he is getting cold feet and he does want a tune-up, he's going to find a way to flip the script, to play some mind games and blame it all on Joshua. So let's hope this isn't going on, and let's hope the fight does get announced in the next few days. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Are you concerned here? Do you think Tyson Fury's looking for a way out? I'm sure some people are going to say, it's not Fury that's looking for a way out. It's AJ that's looking for a way out. You know, there's always the diehard fanboys out there. I'm just coming at it from an objective point of view. Because it's not AJ who's coming out sounding negative, is it? About the fight. He's coming out sounding positive. AJ's not the one who's been talking about, you know, time out the ring and ring rust or whatever it was. Inactivity, that's the word Tyson Fury used. AJ's not the one talking about all that. It's Tyson Fury coming out with all that. So I don't see any reason at the moment, you know, things might change, but I don't see any reason at the moment to suspect that it's AJ who it would be getting cold feet here. Now, if Tyson Fury doesn't fight AJ this year, who else could he fight? Well, he's WBC World Heavyweight Champion. I'm not sure if WBC champions are allowed to pick from the top 15 or the top 10. I think it might be the top 10, but exceptions have been made. Trust me. And of course, the ranking system and the sanctioning bodies are so farcical at times that if a champion wants to fight somebody who, let's say, was ranked 30th in the world, the sanctioning body can see fit to overnight have that guy placed in the top 10 to facilitate a voluntary defense. Now, looking at the WBC rankings here, and this is obviously on box.live, we've got Povetkin fighting White. So maybe if Tyson Fury doesn't fight AJ, he could fight the winner of that. That'd still be a big fight. Deontay Wilder, he could run back the rematch. I don't know how Wilder's managed to maneuver himself into the #1 contender position again, given the fact he hasn't fought since he was destroyed by Tyson Fury a year ago. I'm surprised they haven't dropped him from the rankings altogether. Well, no, I'm not surprised, but if there was any integrity to the way the WBC have done this top 15, they would have considered dropping Wilder from the rankings, because when a fighter becomes inactive after a certain period of time, they get dropped from the rankings altogether. But somehow Wilder isn't #1 contender. You got Usyk, but he's probably fighting Joe Joyce. So, and the winner of that is going to be mandatory for AJ, you know, assuming AJ doesn't fight Fury for whatever reason. So Fury could run it back with Wilder again. Usyk unlikely. Again, Povetkin and White could fight the winner of that. Ortiz, not a fight I particularly want to see. I'd like to see Tyson Fury versus Ruiz for sure. Dylan White, if he manages to beat Povetkin, I'm all for that. Tyson Fury versus White. Joseph Parker, they seem far too pally-pally to ever fight each other, sadly. Michael Hunter versus Tyson Fury. Yeah, I'd like to see that. I'd love to see that. Tyson Fury hasn't fought a small mobile heavyweight since Steve Cunningham. I want to see how well he deals with a guy like that after all these years. To me, the Otto Wallin fight was a little revealing. And look, Wallin is a southpaw, Hunter's orthodox, or maybe the southpaw stance gave Fury a bit of issues as well. But Wallin is light on his feet. He moves around the ring well. And Tyson Fury did struggle to pin him down at times. That fight went the distance. He never came close to stopping Otto Wallin. So when I look at Michael Hunter, I think Michael Hunter is faster on his feet than Wallin. Hunter is a bit more sloppy and ragged. He tends to start very fast and then he gasses a little bit in the second half of the fight because he doesn't pace himself that well. It's not that he's got bad stamina or anything. It's just that he tends to start really fast and exert a lot of energy, throw a lot of punches, trying to get early knockouts. And when that doesn't happen, it kind of hurts him in the back end of the fight. But still, I would love to see Michael Hunter against Tyson Fury. I think that's fascinating. Filip Hrgovic, yep, I'll take that fight. Charles Martin, not so much. F.A. Jagbar, he's not ready. Caballero, Tyson Fury tried to fight him, right? That's not a particularly appealing fight to me. Tony Yoka, Sanchez, Chisora, well, he did say he'd give Chisora another shot. Remember? Or he'd give Chisora a shot. Excuse me, he hasn't fought Chisora for a world title before, but he has fought him for a British title and in an eliminator, a WBO final eliminator. So would Tyson Fury then fulfill that promise, get Chisora, he's ranked 15 at the moment, into the top 10 by having some conversations with the WBC and then fight him again as a voluntary? It's possible. As I say, Tyson Fury, as brave as a man as he is, as much heart as he's got, he's never struck me as the kind of guy who's just willing to take on all comers back to back. He's far more calculated than that in terms of how he picks his opponents and when he fights certain guys. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Tell me your thoughts. Is Tyson Fury getting cold feet? Does he really want some tune-ups before he faces AJ? Or is this just all smoke and mirrors to hype the fight? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Come and join me on Patreon and access my weekly no-holds-barred, censorship-free podcast where we lift the lid on a wide range of controversial topics. It's not mainstream friendly, it's not politically correct, but that's the whole point. We dare to stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. Just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called Hatman Hot Topics. You'll gain access to a minimum of 2 hours of exclusive content every single week, including podcasts, videos, interviews, live stream Q&A sessions, as well as my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. Not to mention a vast back catalog of hundreds of hours of previous episodes. You can listen via the Patreon app with the option to download in high quality MP3. We've also got a Discord server where you can come and chat and hang out with myself and other members. There's no contract, no commitment, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.